Ubuntu means white people cannot have Ubuntu. And that means white people are not human.
That is correct. White people cannot have Ubuntu. And that's not our fault. That's your fault.
You've probably heard the phrase, "I am because we are." But Ubuntu is more than just a slogan. It's a way of life. It's about humanity, compassion, and recognizing that our well-being is tied to the well-being of others. In a world that often pushes individual success, Ubuntu reminds us that community matters, that dignity, respect, and kindness should guide how we treat one another. But here's the question. Is Ubuntu still alive today, or are we losing it? Let's hear from different voices and perspectives.
White people lost their humanity a long time ago. Long before we ever started singing Kill the Boer. Long before they ever set foot on African soil. Do you know what white people were busy doing in Europe? They were killing each other. And this lasted for hundreds of years. Go read up on European history. It's just war after war after war. They only stopped killing each other when they found us. But that was temporary. Because after they were done colonizing us, they started World War I and World War II. They just couldn't resist the urge to kill and destroy. It's part of their heritage. It's their white supremacist culture. They came to Africa with empty hearts and greedy hands. And because our ancestors were guided by Ubuntu, we welcomed these strangers into our home. Our ancestors didn't know they were inviting the devil into their lives.
Ubuntu does not mean we did not go to war. Ubuntu does not mean we did not protect our land.
No. Sorry, I mean violence in the context of what you were saying.
I am with you. Ubuntu does not mean that if someone was killed in the village there, the other village wouldn't pick up its spears when the people have failed to atone for what they have done.
Yes.
War was inevitable. So Ubuntu is not docility. Otherwise, why are we talking about spears and shields and chants of war? Ubuntu must not be abused as a docile state of an African.
Yes.
We're bowing down. No. Ubuntu is dignity that says you respect me because I respect you.
Is it not just defense, that violence, versus, you said in America, maybe Europe, where they intentionally go out of their way? The idea right now is for Africans to reclaim Africa. No one that I've ever heard of has ever spoken of an agenda of colonizing Asia, Europe, America as an African and say, look, while they're busy having fun on our continent, maybe to attain the power they attained or to reclaim whatever power we have, we're going to send small groups to go and colonize, whether it's Nigeria.
Regardless of where you come from on the continent, if you come from Southern Africa, we call it Ubuntu. We're in Uganda today.
Ubuntu does not mean we did not go to war. Ubuntu does not mean we did not protect our land.
In Uganda, they have exactly the same philosophy. It's called Ubuntu. If you are in Tanzania or Kenya, you'll speak of Ujamaa or Harambee.
Right.
And the feedback that we're consistently getting was our development must actually give expression to who we are.
There was this common misconception that Africa was always a socialist place because of this concept of Ubuntu.
Yes.
But you then say, actually, that conflation was probably the worst thing that's ever happened to Africa, as bad as colonialism and slavery. Can you explain what Ubuntu is and why it's not socialism?
So what Ubuntu is, African philosophy of I am because we are. So this very strong emphasis on the community. Socially speaking, we're collectivist. Socially speaking, we're about the family, the community. But economically speaking, the way we made our money was capitalist. You can be collectivist, socially speaking, but it doesn't have to be the economic system that you use. So do whatever you want with the money you made, but you got to make it first.
I know we spoke about this the other day, but I think many people got offended that if these white people don't change and they don't change fast, they now have an educated group of Africans who are equally scrupulous, equally sharp-minded like they are. And me and you, we share the same idea on that. If these guys don't change, we will wipe them off the face of the earth. All it takes right now is for me to start a campaign that says, let a black man that is there get a white woman as a second wife. Or let all the young men that are there marry white women. It takes one generation, and once they cross over that line, the white community will disappear off the face of the earth. Unfortunately, the clans, what do you call them? Clan.
The Ku Klux Klan, the KKK.
They know it. That's why
white supremacy.
That's Urania is a mild version of the KKK. It's about preservation. We don't want. But if you guys are allowed to preserve yourself, Why is everyone else not allowed to preserve themselves? That's the real critical question that KKK and all those people would think that they've right. If the white people think that they own the economies of Africa, what makes you think that the Africans also don't want to own the economy? If the white people think they own the banks, what makes you, if vets and other institutions, white institutions, think that they're the right of existence, then what makes you think that Africans also don't want the same thing? You want good cars, we want them too. You want beautiful houses, we want them too. We want our children go to school, no, we want even to build our own schools also.
That's like across Africa. Our people are called Bantu people.
That's where it comes from.
Okay.
Ubuntu.
Right. Yeah. So human life is at the top of everything, even the lives of your enemies.
That's why we let everybody in. Go
Exactly.
ahead.
It's right here. Everything else comes second. You know, it can be dogs, whatever.
An awakened African is the one who will take this world to the next level. And taking the world to the next level means that, just like Ubuntu says that I am because we are, Ubuntu is what is in the heart and soul of Africa. An awakened African will begin to propagate this Ubuntu to other parts of the world. And that is about equity. That is about equality. The Western people like to imagine that they're the ones who brought this discussion of gender equality and gender equity. Has the US of A ever had a female president?
No.
They've never had one. Africa is already the home of equity. Sometimes poverty makes us the world to perceive us as not having equity and equality. Because when there's rampant poverty, Lynn, it becomes about survival for the fittest. It's a human thing. That if there's only one cup here and you and I are dying of thirst, all of a sudden, there might start being some conflict between us. Because I've got to drink that water, you've got to drink that water, it's only one cup. You know, it's extremely limited. So do not mistake the problems we see in Africa regarding sometimes matters equity, matters equality. Do not mistake that to mean that the African is essentially or inherently like that. So Africa has a choice to make. We either go back to our roots, we either go back deep into our system, into our psyche, to take out the tumors that are there, to take out the viruses that are there. Because if we don't do that, they'll take us out. They're already taking us out. If we don't go back to that, they will keep using other means, either similar means or different means, to continue colonizing our minds, to continue exploiting us. So by all means, we have to go back to our roots.
Yes.
And one of the things the African has to do is to go back to the roots. Africa is the cradle of mankind. Africa is where it all began. Yet, Africa today is the poorest continent.
Ubuntu is an African philosophy popularized by Bishop Desmond Tutu in his seminal work. And outside of Africa, we see that in other communities being practiced without being called Ubuntu. The West, of course, does not have that kind of worldview about life. And because the West is so technologically advanced, we see other societies, including Africa, copying Western way of thinking today.
Ubuntu, et sa signification est d'une telle puissance qu'elle pourrait transformer votre manière d'être. Ubuntu est traduit par « je suis parce que nous sommes ». Et vous allez voir, c'est bien plus qu'une simple invitation à la solidarité. C'est une philosophie de l'interdépendance qui nous rappelle que personne ne peut s'épanouir en restant seul de son côté. Vous allez comprendre. En Occident, nous sommes éduqués dans le culte de l'individu. On nous apprend que nos succès sont des victoires personnelles, que nous devons être forts par nous-mêmes, et que notre bonheur ne dépend que de nos choix individuels. Pourtant, la sagesse d'Ubuntu nous enseigne l'inverse. Elle nous révèle que pour exister pleinement, nous avons besoin des autres. Elle nous rappelle qu'une communauté forte ne peut se construire que lorsqu'un lien profond et sincère s'établit entre ses membres. Elle nous invite à recevoir les étrangers comme nos frères et à considérer chacun avec équité et respect. Mais ce n'est pas une exigence morale ou une simple invitation à l'hospitalité. Vous allez voir, c'est bien plus profond que ça. Ça signifie que vous ne pouvez pas exister sans l'autre, parce qu'il est ce miroir qui vous révèle à vous-même. Parce que sans interaction, il ne peut y avoir de reconnaissance. Sans considération, il ne peut y avoir de respect. Et sans attention, il ne peut y avoir d'amour. Vous existez à travers le regard des autres. Votre identité, vos valeurs, et même votre humanité ne peuvent s'accomplir qu'en relation avec eux. Ainsi, si vous blessez quelqu'un, vous déchirez une partie de vous-même. Et si vous aidez quelqu'un, vous vous élevez avec lui. Ubuntu.
There has to be something amiss there. Because we cannot be the cradle of mankind and at the same time
be the poorest
continent. So by all means, we have to keep going back to our history with contemporary lens. Because when you do that, We learn from our mistakes and we don't repeat them. If we don't do that, we will keep repeating our mistakes and we'll keep digging deeper and deeper into this hole.
Voice of Africa by Africans.
Where we are gradually walking away from the importance of family relationships, extended family relationship, for instance. Parents who see children as their property to be flaunted, having raised a lawyer, a doctor, a successful person, and being cheered by the world. And this child is not able to build community because the child was not exposed to extended family, to relationship that tested this, the children while they were growing up, and that made them see human beings as human beings, to love and respect, to think of community. It's hard for the children to grow up into adults, to stay in relationships where they're not praised the way their parents praise them round the clock. And of course, if they're successful in their careers, then that's life. But then we see a rise in mental health problems with these children. It's a lot going on, and they don't understand why they are so successful and still so miserably unhappy.